Special thanks to my lone $5 patron. Howard Stern is arguably one of the most successful men in all of media, and easily the most successful radio show host of all time. Stern has become the face of the term shock jock. However, that term doesn't do him justice, as Howard has done some of the most wild and offensive things of any performer ever. But through all of the controversy surrounding Howard, if you had to point at one single presentation to represent how controversial Howard was and still is, it would have to be the 1994 special, New Year's Rotten Eve. New Year's Rotten Eve was a pay-per-view event hosted by Stern and was a beauty pageant featuring 40 women and one man fighting for a $50,000 grand prize. However, this wasn't your average pageant, as the entire thing was chock full of nudity, sexism, racism, and so many other wild things. But despite this offensive nature, the pay-per-view special had around 400,000 buys, with thousands of VHS copies being sold around the world. And when I learned I could still get a copy of this VHS tape for only a few bucks, I knew I had to see it. So get your popcorn ready, because today we're going to be watching the insane Howard Stern beauty pageant, New Year's Rotten Eve 1994. So right off the bat, the tape starts with Howard dressed as Michael Jackson, who had only been accused of those naughty things he did earlier that year. In the skit, Howard Jackson is hanging out with this little boy who's being played by a little person, and Howard asks the little person if he wants to play a game. Howard Jackson reveals several devices of torture, or pleasure depending your preference, and then uses jumper cables on him when the little person's parents walk in. The parents are obviously shocked at what they see, but once Howard Jackson offers them a check for $50,000,
you boys have fun! Okay, good night.
Howard and the little guy return to their fun when Howard Jackson realizes the quote, sick perverted show he ordered for New Year's Eve is about to begin. So he plugs the TV into the little guy's ass, which turns it on. So at this point, we're only 3 minutes in and we're already going to hell for watching. So the official pageant starts with this opening musical number from all of the participants. The song they're singing tells us exactly what we're going to be seeing throughout this tape.
We'll be judged on the shape of our tell me who says this show has no plan.
It's time to introduce our host for the evening, who's brought up through the floor with his pants around his ankles, taking a dump. The song picks up again and they continue to explain what we're going to see throughout the show and dance around. And then we're introduced to all the participants in the pageant, and here are just a few. Miss Space Lesbian, Nicole Bass the bodybuilder, another bisexual from Cleveland. The playmate Elaine Marks, who was an actual Playboy playmate. The girl with a lisp, Miss Freakin' Foreigner, and Taboo, aka Miss Gender Confused. Howard then gives an opening monologue. He then tells all the women that if they want to score some early points, they should step up to the front and kiss each other, which many women do. So then we meet our judges of the pageant, and there's actually some familiar faces. Our judges begin with comedian Doug Beatty, best known for his work with Sam Kinison. Second is Daniel Carver, former Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. The third judge is legendary musician Tiny Tim, with the fourth judge being boxing legend Joe Frazier. However, the fifth judge is the most surprising person to be involved in this and is easily the most famous person, with the fifth judge being none other than Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. The other three judges are Sherman Hemsley from All in the Family or The Jeffersons, Fred the Elephant Boy, who was a regular on The Stern Show, and finally, John Wayne Bobbitt. Now, if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know that me and John Wayne Bobbitt actually have beef, so I'm going to put that beef aside for the sake of presenting this video, but I do want you to know, Bobbitt, I don't like you. So then they tell us what exactly happened with Bobbitt with a visual reenactment. And if you don't know what happened to John Wayne Bobbitt, I'm not allowed to say it in this video, but I'm gonna give you some time to Google it, so go ahead, I'll give you time. Are you done? Pretty brutal, right? They then reveal that this event is actually doubling as a benefit for Bobbitt, and people can pledge money to help him pay for his medical bills. We are then introduced to Miss Helen Stern, who we will meet throughout this tape. In this section, they show us supposed behind the scenes looks at the girls preparing for the pageant. We see the girls pillow fight, moon people, skinny dip, and even do some Blue Angels. And it's already time for our first round of eliminations, leaving us with only 20 participants left. One of the losing women is interviewed.
Are you aware that all of the girls in the pageant have been saying that you're a
And then we go back to Helen Stern, who is hosting a series titled Up Close and Personal. Her first guest is Elena, the BDSM girl. Elena opens up about her sex life. She also discusses her attraction to pain. There's a screen of so-called pageant facts, and they reveal how much money they've raised for Bobbitt. In only a short period of time since the show began, they've already raised $15,000. They then run another promo for Bobbitt. However, this time it features the Bee Gees, who harmonize about what happened to him and plead with the viewer to pledge more money. And then after this, we get another skit, but the following skit has become the most well-known bit from this entire tape, and that skit would be the infamous blackface Ted Danson parody. Now, this bit has become popular in the last few years following Donald Trump Jr. sharing it on his social media page following Stern's criticism of his father. Stern is dressed in blackface impersonating Ted Danson, with Sherman Hemsley impersonating Whoopi Goldberg. Now, this bit is supposed to be a parody of Ted Danson's controversial set at the roast of Whoopi Goldberg, which only happened a few months prior. At the roast, Danson dressed in blackface and made over-the-top racist remarks towards Whoopi. So similarly, Howard does the same. With fried chicken on the table, Stern drops a hard R 6 different times. And now it's time for the lingerie parade. But first, I want to highlight Robin's laugh right here.
It's time for our lingerie parade. Never mind Whoopi and Ted, Robin.
Anyway, the lingerie parade is their take on a regular pageant swimsuit contest, and yeah, the censored version of this doesn't do it justice, so I want to remind you, the uncensored extended version of this video is available on my Patreon for only $1 a month. There's another interview where a girl says she's turned on by food, and there's this random section with Fred the Elephant Boy, and after that, there's a section where we see some of the girls who didn't make the competition from the auditions, and yeah, there's more off-the-wall stuff. After that, we get another up close and personal, this time with Nicole Bass. Nicole discusses her body and her physique, while explaining how she's still feminine in her strength. They also make sure to highlight her laugh. We then get another behind-the-scenes look, however this time it highlights a woman who fainted during her audition. However, not only did she fainted live on the air while being practically naked in the studio, and we see everybody rush to try to help her out. But when they come back from this bit, Howard says probably the most off-the-wall thing in this entire tape.
Wow, I can't believe it, Robin. I cannot believe that.
What, you can't believe a girl fainted in the studio?
No, I can't believe that nobody her while she was passed out.
At this point, it's time for the official New Year's countdown, with all the girls surrounding Howard, and Howard's wife actually joins them. Yeah, keep that in mind. Not only is Howard married, but his wife is in the crowd during this entire pageant. They do a classic countdown from 10, and when the countdown finally hits 0, everyone celebrates while the balloons drop. And then, we get to do the Baba Booey. Garry Delabate comes out dressed as a gorilla to lead the crowd in a rousing musical number titled, Do the Baba Booey. Everyone dances like an ape, and if you somehow didn't know, the phrase Baba Booey is the nickname to Garry Delabate, who is the producer of The Stern Show. There's another up close and personal, and this time the guest is Debbie Tay, a woman who claims to have sex with aliens. But she goes into some pretty intense details about how exactly she does it. They also interview her mother, and during that, and throughout the whole interview basically, she keeps making some crazy faces. She also astral projects herself out of her body. After whatever the hell that was, the judges take some time to talk about which women they like the most, which leads us to the talent portion of this pageant. Each woman is given a short period of time to show off their talent, and some of these talents are something else. The first participant's talent is this.
Happy New Year.
That was important. Now that's important.
Which is followed by other talents such as sexy poetry, impressions, and a girl covered in peanut butter letting the crowd throw bread at her. Other talents include chewing food for someone else to eat, breast puppet theater, naked ice sculpting, and I wanted to specifically highlight these last two. The first one is taboo rapping, and I'm just gonna let it play.
She raps.
Hello. It's natural. T-A-B-B-O-O, 1 calorie, taboo. I've got a big smile and a hairy butt.
The final act is Lesbio and Juliet, and features 3 lesbians performing their take on Romeo and Juliet.
No! Juliet is my tuna! My breath friend! Lesbio! Falvina! Lesbio! Falvina, please don't fight, I prithee!
They take some time to recognize Miss Howard Stern 1993 for her contributions to the show, and now it's time for another round of eliminations, which ultimately takes us down to our final 5 contestants. They then play another celebrity PSA to get the people at home to call in and pledge, and this PSA features Corbin Burnson, who you might know from Psych, as well as, come on, it's f***ing Corbin Burnson. And then it's time for the final official contest of this pageant, the IQ and personality portion. The girls get asked what they'd do if they were president, who they admire, as well as their opinion on gun control. Their answers are about as good as you'd expect.
Well, you don't know him.
Are you very nervous? Who do you admire, a space alien?
It's someone that you don't know and I do.
They then announce that it's time to finally reveal how much money was raised for Bobbitt, which in total was over $190,000. Now that might seem like a lot, but let's remember we're talking about the American medical system here, so I probably didn't put a f***ing dent into what he owed. It's now time for the final winner to be revealed. And remember, the winner of this pageant gets $50,000. One by one, we count down to the winner. The final 2 women are the space lesbian and the Playboy playmate Elaine Marks. There's a short pause, and then the official winner is announced. The playmate is officially crowned Miss Howard Stern 1994. And with that, the show is over, and they say their final goodbyes. Now on the pay-per-view special, this is actually where the show ended. But seeing as how this is actually the VHS recording of it, there's a little bit extra after the credits. Most of this is just behind the scenes footage, including the application of the peanut butter to that one girl with the peanut butter talent. The tape ends with Tiny Tim drunkenly rambling into the camera about the event, and it literally goes on for a few minutes. However, eventually, a naked girl joins him, and Tiny Tim gives his final New Year's resolution while the credits roll. And finally, the video is over. And that, my friends, was the New Year's Rotten Eve tape. This video was a lot to take in just one sitting, but I gotta admit, I had a weird amount of fun watching it. With over 2 hours of content packed onto this VHS tape, there wasn't much that lost my interest, and I basically watched it the entire time. However, some of the content on this tape is truly some of the most offensive and shocking content. But I guess that's gonna do it for today, so thank you guys for watching. There are a couple of other Howard Stern tapes I'd like to go through, but I'm only going to do that if you guys like this type of video. So if you did like it, make sure to leave a comment below, or, just let me know you liked it, okay? Also, like the video, subscribe, all that stuff, or don't. I don't care. I mean, I want you to subscribe, but I'm not your dad. Go between. That's my Fago. Yo. He's coming. Do we still have time to do the ritual? I'll gather the supplies. They don't know what's coming.